when both the main leaders and the opposition are both breaking the COVID rules. Fun times for our friends in the UK. We'll follow this story as it continues to develop. Always something entertaining going on across the pond with our friends over there. One reason we keep up with it. More Heard Tell right after this.
Only one candidate for clerk of court has the experience needed to keep our courts running efficiently and criminals off our streets. That candidate is conservative Republican Catherine Adams. Adams has a 20-year record of accomplishments, including serving as deputy director of the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, where she was responsible for the oversight of the human resources and financial management for all 6,200 employees of the state court system and personally managed hundreds of employees and tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. She's also been awarded the state's highest civilian award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for her public service. That's why Clerk of Court Jim McCallum says Catherine Adams is the one person most qualified to be our next Clerk of Court. Early voting begins on April 28th, and the primary election is on May 17th. So remember to vote for experience, vote for leadership, vote for qualifications, and vote for proven conservative Republican Catherine Adams for Brunswick Clerk of Court.
Paid for by the Committee to elect Catherine Adams Clerk of Court.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Now, welcome back to the Heard Tell Show. We try to end on an uplifting note. This one gets a little complicated before it gets to the uplifting part, but it's something we cover frequently on here. You're not going to talk about justice unless you're going to talk about restorative justice. That's giving people chances. And this is a good story of that from the Washington Post. After spending 27 years in prison, Kent Brewer looks forward to going to work every day where he sees green, open spaces and, quote, people that are like family. Brewer, 69 years old, who has a slight frame but a firm handshake and is a full-time employee at the Cheltenham Veterans Cemetery in southern Prince George's County. His job is made possible through a partnership between Maryland's Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services and the Department of Veteran Affairs to hire honorably discharged veterans who are incarcerated to work at the state veteran cemeteries once they are released. The program is part of an effort to reduce barriers and help people in prison re-enter communities. Our goal is to see all veterans who have experienced incarceration successfully reintegrated back into the communities in which they live, said George W. Owings, Secretary of MDVA. This partnership is one way of doing that. It's a fantastic opportunity to connect those that are in our system or have served time in our system that are veterans and reconnect them to something that at times, I'm sure, can be very emotional to them. Here's the trick to this whole program, though. As part of the program, the people are given a state position identification number, guaranteeing their employment and pay as a state employee, said Russell C. Ware, Director of Cemetery Memorial Programs for the MDVA. Brewer went through the pre-release program while at Dorsey Run Correctional Facility and was released February 14th. He became a full-time employee at the Veterans Cemetery on March 9th. We believe in the system so much that we've actually reserved positions at the cemeteries for this program. When a state position identification number became available for Brewer at Cheltenham, Superintendent Demetra Johnson said she knew she wanted him on her team. Johnson said Brewer's work at the cemetery covers a little bit of everything. He fixes and realigns headstones. He cuts grass. He even operates heavy equipment like an inloader, and he takes a lot of pride in what he does. Brewer was a Coast Guard veteran. During the Vietnam era, he faced difficulties with substance abuse and was in and out of prison, and at the age of 43 pled guilty to a murder he committed during an argument while high on drugs. He served 27 years for that crime. Quote, when you're on drugs, the only thing that matters is what you can do to satisfy your addiction. I learned that in prison, people matter. Your family matters and that strangers matter, Brewer said. It just dawned on me that what you've done is wrong, it's terrible, and you have to straighten this out, and that's the effort I've been putting into this. While in prison, Brewer became a tutor to help others in prison learn how to read and write, joined a Quaker community, and helped train a service dog through a program that provides the dogs to wounded veterans. Ramona Buck, who attended the recent news conference, met Brewer when he was incarcerated. She and a group of Quakers started a worship group there, which Brewer joined. Buck and her husband kept up with Brewer over the years, and upon his release, even assisted him with things like housing and a car. Kent is a remarkable human being, Buck said. She helped others who were bullied in prison through his kindness. Brewer says he applies his work ethic to his job every day and hopes to work at the cemetery for as long as he can. Two of Brewer's brothers are veterans, and one of them is buried at the cemetery he now works. I know I have somewhere to go every day, Brewer said. It's been a blessing. Things just fell into place like I never dreamed. Owings and Green praised Brewer at the recent news conference. Owens describing him as a true asset to the cemetery and a, quote, focused and dedicated employee. Mr. Brewer, we're proud of you, Green said. We're proud of your hard work, your commitment to your success that has allowed this opportunity to be possible, and the example you set for others. There's all the data in the world that the recidivism rate for convicted felons and criminals that get out of prison all starts with their ability to get an income, get a job, and put their life back together. And when those hurdles aren't cleared very, very quickly once they get out of prison, they almost always fall back upon bad habits and criminal ways. Getting them guaranteed jobs coming out of prison, pre-qualifying them, getting them ready to go, and having them that success seems like a great idea. Let's do some more of that. Have a lot less crime because we have a prison system and a justice system that stops making career criminals. If we can rehabilitate folks, we should. Good old Mr. Brewer. May he take good care of that sacred space full of our honored dead for as long as he possibly can. That'll do it for Heard Tell today. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're watching or listening to this program, the YouTube channel, or on any of the podcasting platforms. And nobody's going to say a word if you follow on multiple places. That's just fine, too. Numbers are through the roof. We so appreciate y'all staying with us. We really appreciate it. Lots of great stuff coming up the rest of this week. If you missed anything, Twice on Sunday show recaps all of last week with 5 great interviews, and you can go watch the full episodes either on the Good Talks breakouts of the interviews or the full episodes. Look at them, find them, make sure you share them. That only costs you a click. The subscription only costs you a click. It'll always be free because as long as you're listening, we're going to keep doing it. So wherever you and yours are across the street or around the world, we hope you're well. We hope you are well fed. And we will talk to you again tomorrow for more Heard Tell. Take care.
All the music on Heard Tell is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly overregulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune into Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO's coasttocoasttree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The trial of a former New Hanover County school teacher who faces more than a dozen charges related to child sex crimes has begun. The trial was moved to Bladen County due to a conflict of interest in the DA's office. Jury selection began yesterday. Many Bladen County residents hadn't heard about the case, which came into the public eye back in 2019. Former Roland Grice Middle School band teacher Peter Frank is accused of more than a dozen sex crimes, including indecent liberties with a child, indecent liberties with a student, sexual activity with a child and a student, and sexual offense with a child aged 13, 14, or 15. The charges pertain to incidents with a female student between 1998 and 2000. That trial is expected to last more than a week. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is nearing its 11th week, and there is no clear indication that it will end soon. Now, one Wilmington man is heading overseas to help. Dr. Christopher Hess is a physician with Wilmington Health, but he's also a major in the Army National Guard. He's being deployed to help with European deterrence around Ukraine. Hess says he will mostly be helping with taking care of service members and potentially refugees as well. The Honor Guard gathered at Wilmington Health yesterday to send him off as he leaves behind his wife and 2 children, as well as his patients for 4 months. On the roads, drivers in Leland can expect delays the next 2 days as crews work on repairing the bridge on Old Fayetteville Road across Sturgeon Creek. It will close today and tomorrow at 9 a.m. and reopen by 4. Drivers will be detoured onto US 7476 and Landvale Road. And a few sea turtles are on their own after hundreds of people crowded behind barricades at Oak Island yesterday to watch them walk into the ocean. 4 turtles treated at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center have now been sent back out into the sea. Experts say if you happen to see a turtle with a hook in its mouth, don't pull it out, leave it to professionals to remove. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with the Storm Track 3 forecast. Going to be another repeat of what we saw on Monday with below average temperatures reaching the low 70s away from the coast. Upper 60s will do it for high temperatures along the immediate coastline. Certainly going to be breezy as well with north winds anywhere between 10 to 25 miles per hour. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out and about. As for tonight, mostly cloudy skies in store for us and our temperatures fall down into the low to middle 50s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to the program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. It's a testing Tuesday. We're going to test your nerves right here on the Big Talker. BigTalker.live is the website. That's right. Fantastic schedule. Things getting updated. Links to the updated app for Android and iOS devices. There's an email link should you want to share any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, or compliments, because we can't improve without your help. I like that. I'm getting better at that. So, one of the things that's fun to do, I like to talk about the 330 million residents of the United States of America. And I thought it would be fun to take a moment to meet a few, if you don't mind. I mean, many of them you hear about in the news. You know, some of them are in the hallowed halls of Congress and the Senate and everything else, and we know those people by name. We know them. You can know them across multiple states if they have registered to vote in multiple states, so you've seen them in the polling line and the voting line in 3 different states. Well, this guy you probably never heard of, and I will invoke Andrew's rule or rule of thumb that if a person has 2 first names, there's gonna be problems. So let us meet Mr. Jacob Ryan Philbeck. You don't know Jacob Ryan Philbeck? Phil, by the way, Philbeck. So it's almost 3 names. Well, this story dropped yesterday, and apparently on Monday, This 29-year-old Florida man made a series of 911 calls early in the morning to inform police dispatchers that President Joe Biden should be jailed while convicted drug lord El Chapo Guzman should be freed from custody. One of our best and brightest, ladies and gentlemen, in response to that legal advice offered in 3 separate pre-dawn calls, Phil Beck was arrested for misuse of the 911 system, a misdemeanor. Dialing from an apartment in Palm Harbor, a Tampa suburb, Phil Beck was initially informed that the information he was providing was a non-emergency situation. Phil Beck was also warned not to use the 911 system in such a manner. Nevertheless, he persisted. Here's where it gets a little weird, and I'm just taking it from the article, so y'all just relax, all right? Phil Beck, a registered Republican voter, again called cops to say that President Biden needed to be placed in prison, according to the arrest report. Phil Beck also advised that El Chapo needed to be freed. When deputies arrived at Phil Beck's residence, he was on the line with 911, and that call was cut short by Phil Beck's 6 a.m. arrest. In the mugshot, Phil Beck was booked into county jail, from which he was released yesterday on a $150 bond. Yeah, with regard to Phil Beck, the arrest report notes that there was an indication of alcohol influence. Surprise, surprise. In posts to his Facebook page, Phil Beck has supported Phil Beck has supported flying the Confederate flag, opposed gun control, and declared that, quote, "It's scary to do research and find out how much today's Democratic Party and Hitler's Nazi Germany have in common. Wow." In a 2018 post, Phil Beck wrote, "For the record, I am very conservative, even more right than many Republicans maybe. I'm libertarian. I don't know." Well, I do know one thing. You're an idiot. Calling 911 for that's just Yes, this story comes from one of my favorites that popped somewhere in the, I think it dropped somewhere in the mid-late 90s and really took off in the early 2000s. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are going to meet Miss Amy. Oh, here it goes again. Amy Ann Harrington, 38. Yes. DUI suspect broke out dance moves during roadside sobriety test. A Florida woman. Thank God they're all in Florida and not here. A Florida woman suspected of drunk driving performed multiple ballet and Irish folk dance moves while undergoing field sobriety tests after rear-ending a vehicle late Wednesday evening. This story would have dropped, let's see, the 29th, so this has been a minute. And I saw this story go by and I didn't pay attention. Now that I see it, it's hilarious. Amy Ann Harrington, yes, Amy Ann, was arrested on a DUI charge following a crash near her residence in Madeira Beach, a city 10 miles from St. Petersburg. Police allege that Harrington showed multiple signs of impairment during roadside sobriety tests. Harrington smelled of alcohol, had slurred speech, and was unsteady on her feet, police charge. When asked to perform one-leg stand and walk and turn tests, Harrington instead broke out her cross-disciplinary dance moves, according to an arrest affidavit. Harrington, who refused to take a breath test, was charged with a pair of misdemeanors and booked into the county jail, from which she was released yesterday, or the next day, on $650 bond. Harrington, who works at a St. Petersburg bar and grill, was arrested for DUI in 2019 following a car crash. She subsequently copped to a reduced charge of reckless driving and was sentenced to 12 months probation and 50 hours of community service. In the new case, a date has not been set for the roadside ballerina to appear for arraignment and enter a plea. Ha ha ha! Oh, you guys are good. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Smoking Gun Tuesday. I don't know. That doesn't rhyme right, but It's got to be something. Because there's 330 million people in the United States, 10.5 million in the state of North Carolina, and we keep voting for the worst. So I'm gonna continue to introduce you to more and more, fine specimens of American citizenship, so that Now, thankfully, so far, these are all Florida, but I'm sure we will find one or more from North Carolina. How about the arrest of Tyler Durden? The first name of False Name Club is You Do Not Claim to Be Tyler Durden. Follow me along on this. During a vehicle stop late Sunday night in Dunedin, a Gulf Coast city, Florida, cops discovered a 9mm handgun, ammunition, and a trafficking amount of narcotics inside the auto. That would be inside the car. Since the gun and drugs, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and Xanax, appeared to belong to a male passenger, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office deputies asked the man to identify himself. In response, the subject provided the name Tyler Durden, according to an arrest report. Apparently unaware that Durden was a character in a 1999 film Fight Club, cops ran the handle through a police database and were unable to locate a subject by that name. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is proof that culture needs to reach a little bit further into the system, this would be it. Now, using a fingerprint scanner, police subsequently identified the passenger as Todd Michael Burns. Okay, there's two first names again. 44, whose rap sheet, not rap career, but rap sheet, includes numerous drug convictions as well as convictions for grand theft, disorderly conduct, violating probation, and carrying concealed weapon. Basically, a candidate for representation in the state of North Carolina. See, Burns is currently on probation for a 2019 conviction for meth possession. He is also facing burglary and grand theft charges in another Florida county. After Burns' identity was confirmed by cops, he reportedly admitted to giving a false name due to not knowing why he was being arrested. Locked up in the county jail, Burns is facing an assortment of felony drug and weapon charges, as well as a misdemeanor count for providing a false name to law enforcement. Imagine that. Some of the best and brightest, ladies and gentlemen, and in fact, he has a couple of the same charges that we have across the nation for people that are either in office or looking to be in office. And we do not seem to have a way of, lowering that bar whatsoever. Or raising it, rather. Sorry. Coffee is still kicking in. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. A little closer to home. Evil bastard that I am. Now, if you don't know Brad Beard or Samantha Canopy, I don't know. You should. Now, this is a few years old, so I'm sure they're all healed up by now. But these are some of the examples of our North Carolina denizens. This couple arrested for assaulting each other with tasty pizza rolls. That's right, Brad Beard and Samantha Canopy. The young couple was arrested early in the morning for attacking each other with pizza rolls inside their North Carolina residence. Summoned to the Gastonia apartment around 1 in the morning, cops reported that Beard and Canopy, 24 and 21, had assaulted each other by throwing pizza rolls at each other. I'm mad. Right, so the cops are fearing for their lives. They got full body armor in, right? And they're going to a domestic call that if you ask any police officer on the planet, what is the one call you don't want to do? It's going to be domestic violence because that is like loaded. You do not know what's going on. There's high emotion. There's high energy, anger. It's crazy. You don't, that's the one call. Cops would rather go into an armed robbery because they know what's going on. But going to a domestic dispute, no, they do not. It's very questionable. So, I think these guys were completely relieved to discover that the worst item up for assault would be a semi-frozen, semi-molten pizza roll, right? Because they're never the same temperature all the way through. So you're going to get hit and branded, singed, seared, or you're going to get a freezer burn mark. But it's only a pizza roll so far. So cops reported that Beard and had insulted each other by throwing pizza rolls at each other. The Gastonia Police Department report does not reveal whether the bite-sized delicacies were hot or cold, or whether anyone was injured during the fracas. The motive for the mutual domestic combat is also not addressed in the police report. Charged with simple assault and misdemeanor, Beard and Kennedy were each released from jail Monday afternoon on $2,500 unsecured bond. That Monday afternoon. And, another couple of great examples of our 10.5 million residents right here in North Carolina. This is more fun than reading the phone book, I will say that. Well, this one should be coming out of Florida, but instead it seems to be coming out of North Carolina. And this one's aggravating on a number of levels. This happened August of 2013. Hopefully things have changed since then. North Carolina mother arrested for trying to beat the gay out of her teenage son. North Carolina woman who allegedly attempted to beat the gay out of her teenage son is facing child abuse charges. Imagine that. According to a Whiteville Police Department report, the teenager told an officer the Gowans had instructed his younger brother to strike him repeatedly, and he was instructed not to fight back. The victim told police that his mother then made him strip to his underwear and proceed to strike him with a belt. The brothers told police that their mother stated she was going to beat the gay out of him. Also allegedly struck the victim with a stick that left large abrasions. Free on bond, Gowans is scheduled for a district court hearing in the child abuse case. She was previously busted for assault and battery, and following the abuse bus was collared for driving without a license and driving with a child in the car's front seat. Another one of our finest. And out of that one, in the 9 years hence, I hope the child has had a chance to certainly recover, get some counseling, and maybe find a safe place to live. That's definitely not the best and brightest of our, folks. Well, let's go to the other side of the happiness spectrum. Let's see, this was dropped, I guess, a couple years ago. Did not know this. I knew she had a military career, and we all sort of miss Miss B. Arthur. Man, I did not know this. While she strangely denied serving in the armed forces, military records show that the actress B. Arthur spent 30 months in the Marine Corps, where she was one of the first members of the Women's Reserve and spent time as a typist and a truck driver. Man, that explains a lot to her Maud character, doesn't it? The Maude and Golden Girls star who died 3 years ago now at age 86 enlisted in the early 1943 when she was 21, then known as Bernice Frankel. In a February 1943 letter included in her Marine personnel file, Miss Arthur gave military officials a brief account of her prior employment as a food analyst at a Maryland packing plant, a hospital lab technician, and an office worker at a New York loan company. Arthur was due to start a new job, but she heard last week that enlistments for women in the Marines were open, so decided the only thing to do was to join. While she hoped for an assignment in ground aviation, Arthur noted that she was willing to get in now and do whatever is desired of me until such time as ground schools are organized, she added. As far as hobbies are concerned, I've dabbled in music and dramatics. As part of the enlistment process, Arthur underwent interviews that resulted in the production of personality appraisal sheets. One such analysis described her conversation as argumentative and her attitude and manner as over-aggressive. In a handwritten note, the Marine interviewer remarked, officious but probably a good worker if she has her own way. Let's see. Arthur, who was fingerprinted during enlistment, started basic training in March 1943 and was initially assigned as a typist at Marine headquarters in Washington. Over the following 2 years, Arthur was stationed at Marine Corps and Navy air stations in Virginia and North Carolina. During her military career, Arthur's rank went from private to corporal to sergeant to staff sergeant. The title she held upon her honorable discharge in September 1945, according to one document. On a Marine qualification card that included a section titled Talent for Furnishing Public Entertainment, Arthur is credited for piano and organ 13 years and contralto orchestra. Her active hobbies include hunting with a .22 caliber rifle and bow and arrow. A year after her enlistment, Arthur married a fellow Marine, Private Robert Arthur, in a ceremony presided over by a city judge in Ithaca, New York. She then formally changed her name in military records to Bernice Arthur. It would change again to B. Arthur as she started her post-military career as an actress. The military records released in response to Freedom of Information Act include a single misconduct report filed against her while she was stationed at the Marine Corps Air Station in Cherry Point, North Carolina. That misconduct determination stemmed from Arthur's contracting of a venereal disease which left her incapacitated for duty for 5 weeks in late 1944. As a result, her pay was reduced for that period. For some reason, Arthur did not speak about her time with the Marines. In fact, in a videotaped interview conducted as part of an Academy of Television Arts and Science Archives project, Arthur flatly denied serving in the military. When an interviewer said that she had read somewhere that Arthur had once joined the Marine, the actress answered, "Oh, no. She then continued a chronological review of her life by denoting that in 1947, she enrolled in a dramatic school in New York. So, denying her military participation, I don't know if it's related to that misconduct report, but it does make sense. They saw it then that she was going to be aggressive and be a great worker if she had her way. Yeah, that works. That makes a lot of sense. It does. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to take a minute, and we'll be right back after these messages here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Be right back. Don't go nowhere. Oh, yeah.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The trial of a former New Hanover County school teacher who faces more than a dozen charges related to child sex crimes has begun. The trial was moved to Bladen County due to a conflict of interest in the DA's office. Jury selection began yesterday. Many Bladen County residents hadn't heard about the case, which came into the public eye back in 2019. Former Roland Grice Middle School band teacher Peter Frank is accused of more than a dozen sex crimes, including indecent liberties with a child, indecent liberties with a student, sexual activity with a child and a student, and sexual offense with a child aged 13, 14, or 15. The charges pertain to incidents with a female student between 1998 and 2000. That trial is expected to last more than a week. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is nearing its 11th week, and there is no clear indication that it will end soon. Now, one Wilmington man is heading overseas to help. Dr. Christopher Hess is a physician with Wilmington Health, but he's also a major in the Army National Guard. He's being deployed to help with European deterrence around Ukraine. Hess says he will mostly be helping with taking care of service members and potentially refugees as well. The Honor Guard gathered at Wilmington Health yesterday to send him off as he leaves behind his wife and 2 children, as well as his patients for 4 months. On the roads, drivers in Leland can expect delays the next 2 days as crews work on repairing the bridge on Old Fayetteville Road across Sturgeon Creek. It will close today and tomorrow at 9 a.m. and reopen by 4. Drivers will be detoured onto US 7476 and Landvale Road. And a few sea turtles are on their own after hundreds of people crowded behind barricades at Oak Island yesterday to watch them walk into the ocean. 4 turtles treated at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center have now been sent back out into the sea. Experts say if you happen to see a turtle with a hook in its mouth, don't pull it out, leave it to professionals to remove. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Going to be another repeat of what we saw on Monday with below average temperatures reaching the low 70s away from the coast. Upper 60s will do it for high temperatures along the immediate coastline. Certainly going to be breezy as well with north winds anywhere between 10 to 25 miles per hour. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out and about. As for tonight, mostly cloudy skies in store for us, and our temperatures fall down into the low to middle 50s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Oh, okay. All right, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, part of the Big Talker Network at bigtalker.live. Yes, bigtalker.live. Please visit the website. Lots of cool information, and the app for your Android and iOS devices is really cool. Everything that is being done at the Big Talker is available at your fingertips. That includes the really good shows on this station. The ones like Heard Tell, Consumer Choice Radio, Guns, Politics, Freedoms, All Things Brunswick. What else? I know there are others. I just can't think of them all right now. But anyway. And then there's this one called The Asylum, which is basically a morning program unlike any others. They're all trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you laugh, or, I don't know, make you aware. You know, bring things into your consciousness like nurdles that I'm sure is going to be part of our conversation with Dr. Cahoon tomorrow, one of the smart guys that I love having conversations with because they know what they're talking about. Makes my life easier. Same with Dan Roman, the one of the trainers at Full Circle Fitness, helping the old folks like me keep their brain cells, you know, like still working and stuff. And he's got a lot of good insights on how fitness can keep you from losing your mind. So, you know, pay attention. It'd be a good time to go for a walk, you know. But me, no. I'm going to go back to introducing you to some of the denizens of North Carolina. In fact, we're going to go back to 2006 and revisit the great Domino's brownie bust of 2006. That's right. Back in September of 2006, Alex Sawyer and Andrew Wilkins, the North Carolina couple, was arrested then after an apparent case of the munchies led them to break into a Domino's pizza branch and bake up a batch of the fast food chain's new brownies. The pair had been nabbed at 5:30 September 7, 2006 after a Stallings Police Department officer noticed a suspicious car with keys in its ignition and a warm engine parked outside a small strip mall. When Sawyer and Wilkins noticed the police on the scene, they fled out the Domino's front door and were apprehended after a short chase, said Sergeant Mike Kane. Sawyer, a 21-year-old hairstylist, and Wilkins, a 20-year-old carpet cleaner, were arrested and later charged with breaking and entering and larceny, both felonies. Additionally, and not surprisingly, Sawyer was found carrying a marijuana pipe, for which she was hit with a misdemeanor charge of drug paraphernalia count. Kane told the Smoking Gun that when he entered the Domino's, he discovered that the establishment's ovens were on and a box of brownies had been freshly baked. Investigators determined that Wilkins had previously worked at the Domino's and was fired for allegedly stealing a cash box. Kane said that Wilkins told him that he went to the clothes store to return a set of keys and was not there to steal anything, though Wilkins did acknowledge the pre-dawn baking. "I was just making food. I was hungry." Police recovered the brownies, valued at $5, and found no evidence that anything had been taken from the eatery at the time of the duo's arrest. Kane had not yet had the opportunity to taste the Domino's brownie squares, which were added to the chain's menu in late August. He subsequently tried out the dessert, which boasts a warm chocolatey center, and pronounced it killer. So, maybe if he hadn't stolen the cash box, he would have had, more opportunity to enjoy the brownies. That's North Carolina for you there, right there. Let's see, how far back is this? Oh, this one's about 7 years old in summer. If anybody remembers the show, the sixth season of Big Brother, a number of North Carolina people were following this because, this is awesome, days before the sixth season debut of Big Brother, a contestant on the CBS reality show finally answered a 3.5-year-old arrest warrant issued for her failure to appear in a Los Angeles court to face a misdemeanor theft charge. Janelle Piranza, a 25-year-old cocktail waitress, was charged in December 2001 with stealing merchandise from Macy's. But when she didn't show up for an initial court appearance, the Superior Court judge issued a bench warrant for Piranza's arrest. 6 months later, a second bench warrant was issued in April 2004. A third bench warrant was issued, with the judge this time setting the bond at $30,000, up from $2,500. On June 24, 2 weeks before Big Brother 6 bowed, Pirzina pleaded in the petty theft rap and was fined $982 and stay at least 100 yards from the retailer, who says a crass reality TV series can't serve the public good. Pierzina's rap sheet also includes an August 2000 drunk driving arrest in Duluth, Minnesota, after initially failing to appear for her February 2001 arraignment, which resulted in another pesky bench warrant. Pierzina pleaded in 2002 to a misdemeanor DWI and was hit with a 60-day suspended jail term, placed on a year's probation, fined $1,000, and directed to enroll in alcohol education program. When Pierzina failed to timely complete the Booze Ed course, a June 2003 violation of probation hearing was scheduled. When she did not show for that court session, a district judge signed a bench warrant for her arrest. More than a year later, on June 30, 2004, the warrant was vacated when Pierzina finally appeared for a court hearing that ended with Judge Gerald Mayer extending her probation for 6 months and ordering Pierzina again to attend booze school. Pierzina, who apparently completed that program in North Carolina, has since decamped to Miami Beach, where, according to the CBS website, she toils as a VIP cocktail waitress. I guess that's a graduation, to go from a regular old cocktail waitress to a VIP waitress. But with a rap sheet like that, I think she needs to hook up with Anthony Spivey. The two of them would generate little wonderful specimens of North Carolina, little wonderful Americans, little mini wonderful people, just like Janelle Pierzina. Obviously did a lot with what she had in her life and really played it to its hilt to become, arrested on the eve of a reality show. Yeah. And to even need to be in a reality show. I have no marketable skill. Anyway. Still having fun with this. And hopefully somebody will come along and stop this. But until then. Oh, let me put the other window up here. That's the one. Okay. It's hard to believe that it's been this long. Man. Some of these I can't even do. They're just... $11 years ago. Okay. Let's see, South Carolina man, a little closer to home. May 4, 2011. Upset that his cocaine dealer had given him the wrong change, a South Carolina man called the police to complain about the unsatisfactory transaction and, of course, was promptly arrested. According to cops, Dexter White, 41 years old, obviously not part of the public education system, because he's much too smart for that. Dexter White, 41 years old, called 911 to report that he paid his dealer $60 for crack cocaine, but had received only $20 worth of the drug. White contacted police with his consumer complaint around 4:30 in the morning on Friday, an hour at which Better Business Bureau operators were apparently not standing by. A North Charleston Police Department report notes that White, in a written statement, identified his supplier as C, the letter C, and said the drug dealer refused his demand for his $40 in change. He added that he smoked the entire $20 worth of crack before calling 911. In the 911 call, which can be found on the website, White initially and inexplicably asked a police dispatcher to send a K-9 unit to his location. He subsequently explained his predicament, which prompted the operator to ask, okay, you said you bought some drugs from them and they didn't give you your change back? For his efforts, White was arrested and on a disorderly conduct charge for loitering where drugs are used or sold, and he was booked into the Charleston County Detention Center, where he has previously found himself on many other occasions. Oh man, $400 bond for that stupid. I mean, that's just I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. These are not 300 million people in the United States. Right? 10.5 million right here in North Carolina. And the ones that are running for office, are they the best example of who we are? Letters to the FCC. This one looks interesting. And it looks like it involves North Carolina. So the two of these going together, going back to 2003. Apparently, Ruben Studdard was crowned the newest American Idol. Outraged fans of runner-up Clay Aiken claimed that the show's voting was rigged to favor the morbidly obese Alabaman. Aiken acolytes were so upset that they swamped the Federal Communications Commission with letters accusing Fox Television of sabotaging Clay's chances by limiting his fans' ability to get through on the phone lines and vote for the North Carolina Beanpole. While the FCC received thousands of form letters calling for a probe of the Idol outcome, dozens of other fans authored more personalized letters to the government regulators, many of which see below you'll find an entertaining assortment. Many of these in nasty swipes about Studdard's weight and the prodigious amount of flop sweat that pours forth as he croons. One writer concluded, "Something stinks here, and it's not Ruben's sweaty 205 jersey." But in case you think all the missives were coming from teeny boppers, one is a 56 from a chemical engineer and a Colorado businesswoman. So, to be fair, American Idol really isn't based on talent in the first place. And, of course, since Clay Aiken is already used to losing to somebody better than him, his part in this race is going to be like a revisit of that. And it's a good thing he's already familiar. Right? Because this, the agony defeat does not, you have to inure to it all on your own. It ain't going to happen for you. Wait a minute. Do I remember this one? Get over here. Oh, now I remember. Okay, so no. No. I mean, there's a lot of what's happened past, that have connections to North Carolina. These are just not good. Holy cow. This is 23 years. Apparently, North Carolina 28-year-old at the time, Jennifer Briggs, just changed her name in a strictly commercial transaction as part of a Star Wars promotion sponsored by a local radio station. Briggs got $1,000 to change her name to Obi-Wan Kenobi Briggs. While we think this is from Smoking Gun, think it's a mockery of the court system, we'll pay Jennifer $1,000 if she'll change her name. If she'll again change her name, this time to www.thesmokinggun.com Briggs. You know where to reach him, Obi-Wan. Oh my goodness, really? That's just ridiculous. That one's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Oh man, it's seriously written here. Giving her birth date, which is, just before the turn of the century in Suffolk County. Wow. Item number 5 is a question. I desire to change for the following reason, meaning you're, state of North Carolina, county of Durham, change name. Number 5, I desire change for the following reason. Honestly, as part of a radio station contest that offered me $1,000 to do so. See attached affidavit. Oh my goodness. This is who we are, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. But we do, just, Uh-oh. A little rock and roll history here in North Carolina. This would have been 9 years ago when the band was still somewhat relevant. We love the nifty computerized mugshot system they use down in North Carolina's Guilford County. That's where Tommy Lee just surrendered on charges that he tried to incite a riot at a Greensboro concert. Smoking gun tipster Fletch Brendan Good also sent the press release issued by Sheriff Barnes announcing Lee's arrest. BJ's boys, it seems, always get their man. Oh. This is gonna be funny. The picture is absolutely hysterical. But where's the oh, there it is. For immediate release on this date, 10/11/99, Guilford County Sheriff's Office arrested Tommy Lee of the band Motley Crue. The arrested Mr. Lee completes the service of criminal papers issued following an incident at the band's last Greensboro concert. Mr. Lee was served with the following warrants: felony riot with ethnic animosity. Holy cow. An assault charge. Mr. Lee turned himself into the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, accompanied by his lawyer, to accept service. He was processed in the jail and released on a $5,000 secured bond. His court date, according to the processing papers, is set for 10/20/99 at the Guilford County Courthouse. Mr. Lee is a white male, 10/3/62 birth date. Brown hair, brown eyes, 6'2", 160 pounds. Man, that's 6'2" at $160. That's like getting blown away in the wind. Sheriff Barnes made the following statement: he's just like anyone else in the eyes of the law. I appreciate Mr. Lee working with us to get these papers served by turning himself in. Maybe he heard about how good the men and women are at this department when it comes to getting their suspect. We get about 5,000 papers per month. This was just 2 more. So, yeah, when you're not special, right, at least he kind of recognized it. Yeah, the band's, it's pretty much the end of the career. It's all over. Time to put it to bed. Yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. Okay, so this one goes back a little ways. No, that's just too involved. It's almost like a game where you have to, figure out which of the 6 people. I don't know if anybody even knew about this one. This one's going to be a crossover. Oh, it's been a while. opinion peppered with golf references and a quote from Caddyshack star Bill Murray. A federal magistrate has recommended the dismissal of a lawsuit brought by Rudy Giuliani's Sweat Boy's son over his booting from Duke University's varsity golf team. So, just from that, we can reference that Andrew Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani's son, was booted from the golf team 13 years ago from Duke University right here in North Carolina. Andrew Giuliani, 23 at the time and probably no brighter than he is now, claimed that the North Carolina school breached a contract when it dropped him from the golf team in early 2008. The school and coach Orrin Daniel Vincent III countered by saying that Giuliani was bounced for a variety of boorish acts, including assaulting a teammate, defying coaches, and violating both the rules and the spirit of the game of golf. Imagine that coming from a Giuliani. In an opinion issued yesterday, Magistrate Judge Wallace W. Dixon sided with Duke University in its bid for a judgment against Giuliani. A copy of Dixon's opinion, which will now likely be adopted by a U.S. district judge, dismissing one Giuliani claim, Dixon wrote that the misplaced argument brings to mind Carl Spackler's analysis from Caddyshack. He's on his final hole. He's about 450 yards away. He's going to hit about a 2-iron, I think. Though no longer on the golf team, Giuliani graduated that month, I should say, from Duke. So maybe that'll be better than his golf career because, well, never mind. 450 yards away on his final hole. He's probably 15 over. But anyway. Yeah, these are some of, the North Carolina stories that have made it to the smoking gun, which is just a lot of fun ripping into people being stupid. Oh, this one's going to be even more funny. Do I have time for it? Yeah, why not? So, a while back when other presidents were leading the country, back in 2008, Hillary Clinton, standing at his side, North Carolina Governor Mike Easley at the time, described the Democratic presidential candidate as so tough that she makes Rocky Balboa look like a pansy. Easley's compliment, as it were, may offend some voters since the word pansy is often used in a derogative fashion to describe a male homosexual. Or at least that's what it says in the Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary on our shelf. We scanned the pansy entry from page 828 and posted it on that site. Other dictionaries, Oxford, Cambridge, and Dictionary.com, offer a similar definition for pansy, describing it as a disparaging or derogatory term for an effeminate or homosexual man. The word's primary definition, of course, refers to a plant of the viola family, which apparently was not what Easley had in mind when comparing Clinton to the boxer portrayed 6 times on screen by Sylvester Stallone. When she stepped up to the mic to accept Easley's endorsement, Clinton said nothing about his pansy comment. I guess not, because she is not the blooming flower herself. Oh, man. Not the best and brightest coming out of North Carolina. 10.5 million. We should rethink everybody in this race. We've already seen at the national level that, reality stars do not good politicians make. And there's already been consternation and confrontation. So you can imagine, and misunderstanding. Like why everybody's contacting the FCC about a TV show that has its own whatever. Summarily losing that lawsuit has to be like just rewards. Dude, you signed up, you got paid, you did your thing, you got booted. Deal with it. Nobody likes you, go home. Instead, he's going to run for office in North Carolina, and everybody in this state should think about that. Here's a guy who doesn't have to work, hasn't had to work, hasn't had to apply himself, probably has no marketable skill and the intelligence of a cannoli, and yet he's running for office because he knows if he gets into office, he doesn't need to be educated, he doesn't need to have a marketable skill, he doesn't need to have any experience, right? It's a good thing that you have experience with failure, buddy, because, you know, it's coming again, and you know, if not May 17th, certainly on the in November. And my God, for you Democrats, please, you got to have something better than that, right? I mean, that's got to be embarrassing. It's as embarrassing as trying to rationalize or justify Madison Cawthorn for the Republicans. So there's embarrassments, there's difficulties on all sides. There's a lot to overcome, and really, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for these guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are our denizens. These are our neighbors. These are the people that are running for office. And we need to sort of, I don't know, raise the bar. You know, do we want to be represented by these guys? There's 10.5 million people in North Carolina. Let's meet a few more when we come back. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad.
Keeping Ocean Isle informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Only one candidate for clerk of court has the experience needed to keep our courts running efficiently and criminals off our streets. That candidate is conservative Republican Catherine Adams. Adams has a 20-year record of accomplishments, including serving as deputy director of the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, where she was responsible for the oversight of the human resources and financial management for all 6,200 employees of the state court system, and personally managed hundreds of employees and tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. She's also been awarded the state's highest civilian award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for her public service. That's why Clerk of Court Jim McCallum says Catherine Adams is the one person most qualified to be our next Clerk of Court. Early voting begins on April 28th, and the primary election is on May 17th. So remember to vote for experience, vote for leadership, vote for qualifications, and vote for proven conservative Republican Catherine Adams for Brunswick Clerk of Court.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Catherine Adams, Clerk of Court.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The trial of a former New Hanover County school teacher who faces more than a dozen charges related to child sex crimes has begun. The trial was moved to Bladen County due to a conflict of interest in the DA's office. Jury selection began yesterday. Many Bladen County residents hadn't heard about the case, which came into the public eye back in 2019. Former Roland Grice Middle School band teacher Peter Frank is accused of more than a dozen sex crimes, including indecent liberties with a child, indecent liberties with a student, sexual activity with a child and a student, and sexual offense with a child aged 13, 14, or 15. The charges pertain to incidents with a female student between 1998 and 2000. That trial is expected to last more than a week. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is nearing its 11th week, and there is no clear indication that it will end soon. Now one Wilmington man is heading overseas to help. Dr. Christopher Hess is a physician with Wilmington Health, but he's also a major in the Army National Guard. He's being deployed to help with European deterrence around Ukraine. Hess says he will mostly be helping with taking care of service members and potentially refugees as well. The Honor Guard gathered at Wilmington Health yesterday to send him off as he leaves behind his wife and 2 children, as well as his patients for 4 months. On the roads, drivers in Leland can expect delays the next 2 days as crews work on repairing the bridge on Old Fayetteville Road across Sturgeon Creek. It will close today and tomorrow at 9 a.m. and reopen by 4. Drivers will be detoured onto US 7476 and Landvale Road. And a few sea turtles are on their own after hundreds of people crowded behind barricades at Oak Island yesterday to watch them walk into the ocean. 4 turtles treated at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center have now been sent back out into the sea. Experts say if you happen to see a turtle with a hook in its mouth, don't pull it out, leave it to professionals to remove. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Going to be another repeat of what we saw on Monday with below average temperatures reaching the low 70s away from the coast. Upper 60s will do it for high temperatures along the immediate coastline. Certainly going to be breezy as well with north winds anywhere between 10 to 25 miles per hour. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out and about. As for tonight, mostly cloudy skies in store for us and our temperatures fall down into the low to middle 50s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 1067 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
I'm a medical assistant. I'm the first person you see at the doctor's office. I love what I do. I never have the same day twice, and my job is stable, flexible, and important. And I have options. Medical assistants are in demand. I can work in a variety of healthcare settings, including specialty physicians' offices, hospitals, and in any healthcare facility. I'm a role model for my kids and a trusted healthcare professional at work. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/medical assisting and get started today.
Oh, no, no. 10.5 million people, all living, working, and getting along for the most part here in North Carolina. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. On a twisted Tuesday, for lack of anything else. I mean, oh God. Still having fun meeting some of the people at the North Carolina. Oh, by the way, bigtalker.live. That would be a good place to get more information about what it is you're listening to right now and what's involved and what's going on. Now, a while back, let's see, there's been a couple of decades. The folks in Cumberland County, North Carolina, were moving to change the name of that area's Anthrax Street to something a bit more patriotic. As the county memo showed, the street part of a mid-90s subdivision will likely be rechristened in light of the ongoing bioterrorist attacks back in early 2000, which got these guys to wonder whether Rhode Islanders might want to rethink the West Kinston Street known as Smallpox Trail. The street, home to about 24 families, has been around 150 years and got its name because a local man who lived there opened his home to patients afflicted with smallpox. So maybe the story behind Anthrax Street might be a little more, I don't know, forthcoming, potential. Couldn't tell you. But I do think that that's a nifty story, knowing that there's an additional backstory to the backstory. But having a Anthrax Street still doesn't hit me quite right. An interesting story that Andrew covered earlier was Boeing done left Chicago and he's bound for not New Orleans, to the seat of power, which is interesting, Boeing being one of the largest aircraft manufacturers on the planet. However, I'm a little confused as to why they would move to such a, what's the word I'm looking for, congested and chaotic environment, right? I mean, most places, like, when they're going to do a refurb or do work and maintenance on a hub or whatever, I thought that's what they were doing. You would want to go to a place where it's not chaotic and, I don't know. The part that does make sense is they're trying to get closer to the power where regulation is. Certainly in fear of the future of avionics. Lots of legislation, lots of oversight, lots of 777 MAX 300, I think it was, that was having some issues and has caused much difficulty with the company. But if I'm not mistaken, let's see if Boeing... Doesn't look... well... Okay, so it's good news, bad news, right? Depending on how you look at it. Ooh. Back to front. Boeing's annual gross profit for 2019 was $4.5 billion, which is a 77% decline. Profit of $4 billion. $4.5 billion is a decline from 2018. Annual gross profit for 2020 was negative $5.6 billion, a 225% decline from 2019. 2021 was a $3 billion profit, a 154% decline from 2020. Let's see, Boeing gross profit for 12 months ending March 31, 2022 was effectively $2 billion, a 145% decline year over year. For the quarter ending March 31, the profit was $350 million, a 75% decline year over year. So Boeing is going to spend a lot of money they don't have to move closer to Washington, D.C. That doesn't make sense. Just on the surface. Getting closer to power, I mean, I could see opening an office over on K Street or something like that, right? And of course, the all the crap that happened to the Air Force One, right, a number of years ago. It's been about 20 years now when a lot of bogus parts were flushed out of the system, some of which ended up on Air Force One. Of course, that model of Air Force One is completely gone, been replaced. And the super smart guy who will be joining us shortly knows a lot more about that bird than I do. I do think it's really cool that we're living in an area where in an area where you can actually watch Air Force One do touch and go practice. That's kind of cool, I think. So, they may not be around much longer. Oh, come on. Turning our attention to something a little more topical. The return of the bedroom police by Andrew's going to have to teach me how to pronounce that guy. Like the latest installment of a bad horror movie franchise, the bedroom police are back. With the apparently imminent demise of Roe versus Wade and Casey versus Planned Parenthood, those forces on the right, obsessed with the reproductive decision-making and what goes on in other people's sex lives, have returned from the dead. Justice Alito's draft dicta may suggest that the pending decision would not call into question other holdings like Griswold, Lawrence, Loving, or Bergerful. However, it is impossible to take him seriously if he leaked the draft. If the leaked draft is the decision, how can anyone believe that conservatives would not be happy to regulate decisions about birth control, marriage, or what sort of consensual sexual practices they may engage in their own homes. I will admit to my own complacency, the author states, witnessing the rapid change of gay marriage from a successful conservative wedge issue to the fastest advance in civil rights in history convinced me that religious conservatism was in retreat. This was furthered by the election of Donald Trump, a known womanizer with multiple marriages and a persona standing in stark contrast to any notion of chastity or personal virtue. He always appeared to me as the caddish defender of a desperate rearguard action born of a cynical bargain between defeated evangelical Christians and the most self-indulgent man to ever sit in the Oval Office. Should the court strike this blow to stare decisis, it will be impossible to predict what might be next. While the court has reversed itself before, or narrowed the scope of apparently broad doctrines, this would be the first time it eliminated a well-established right. The result may be bringing not just abortion, but many matters of a highly personal nature back to the democratic process. No longer will those who value personal discretion in love, marriage, and sex be able to rely on the courts for protection. Instead, they must prepare to win democratically. Calling for the end of progressive self-indulgence. The path to success is the opposite of culture war. Instead, it requires an end to the self-indulgence of the progressive cultural movement that metastasized in response to the presidency of Donald Trump. In order to convince people that there really are matters in which the state and our fellow citizens have no business, we must ourselves believe that it is true. Further, we must ground our politics in material reality, not high academic theory or internet culture. I want to start with the most obvious. It is impossible to make the case for a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy if one does not know what a woman is. Contra Julian Castro, trans women cannot become pregnant and will never ever be in a position where one would wish for or acquire an abortion. I certainly hope that our newest appointed justice has figured out what a woman is in the last few days. Either way, she will probably no longer be able to influence this matter as far as the court is concerned. Additionally, getting out of the bedroom must mean getting out of the bedroom. That includes an end to cultural projects related to bizarre notions of consent-based in nebulous theories of power dynamics. Try that again. That includes an end to cultural projects related to bizarre notions of consent based on nebulous theories of power dynamics. It also means getting rid of crazy Title IX tribunals in colleges or arguing for embarrassing affirmative consent rituals. Further, hard distinctions must be made between those men who commit violent felonies and those who, along with their female counterparts, engage in questionable but legal behavior in their personal romantic lives. Obviously, any individual should be free to make his or her own decisions in how they proceed with another person sexually. However, as far as culture goes, one cannot combat the bedroom police if one clearly wants to take up the role for themselves. The space for liberalism. In order for liberalism to win democratically, it must start with a deep respect for the space of others. There must be room to disagree on certain deeply personal matters. Specifically, to be left alone requires a willingness to leave others alone. Donald Trump's election as president in 2016 broke many things in our politics and culture. Among the most notable, in my opinion, was the unleashing from universities of an aggressive, progressive cultural project. Call it wokeness, call it the successor ideology, call it just political correctness returning from its own early 90s grave, whatever it is. Much like the bedroom police on the right, it cares very deeply about matters that in liberal society must be left to the private discretion of individuals and families. It cares so much that some of its proponents can't help themselves from going on TikTok to announce their desire to impose it on other people's children. These things must be repudiated. They are deeply misguided and incendiary to normal people. As if they weren't enough, they lose elections. Most of all, protecting the forms of freedom and privacy in question requires winning. Winning requires a promise that individuals will not only be free of the bedroom police on the right, but of attempts by any group or movement to impose its own personal values on the private life of any citizen. This does not mean abandoning women or minorities. However, it does mean defending their rights and privacy as individuals, as opposed to promoting group-based ideologies in constant need of official validation, no matter how strange, contradictory, or in conflict with the personal values of others. So drop the buzzwords you heard in your undergrad seminar. Forget the nonsense the DEI consultant told your HR department for $5,000 an hour. Instead, remember the most potent words in the American political lexicon. It's none of your business. Boom. Right? And with that, I am going to salute this cat and take a quick break because, yeah, it's time. So, don't go nowheres. The Asylum will be right back. Your refuge in a world gone mad. And we should have some smart, or at least a smart person to help me unpack some of this stuff. Because again, I'm not the brightest guy on the planet, and the coffee is only now working its way to the neurons in my skull, so that my calcified cranium will be able to process some of this. So we will see you guys in just a minute. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The trial of a former New Hanover County school teacher who faces more than a dozen charges related to child sex crimes has begun. The trial was moved to Bladen County due to a conflict of interest in the DA's office. Jury selection began yesterday. Many Bladen County residents hadn't heard about the case, which came into the public eye back in 2019. Former Roland Grice Middle School band teacher Peter Frank is accused of more than a dozen sex crimes, including indecent liberties with a child, indecent liberties with a student, sexual activity with a child and a student, and sexual offense with a child aged 13, 14, or 15. The charges pertain to incidents with a female student between 1998 and 2000. That trial is expected to last more than a week. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is nearing its 11th week, and there is no clear indication that it will end soon. Now, one Wilmington man is heading overseas to help. Dr. Christopher Hess is a physician with Wilmington Health, but he's also a major in the Army National Guard. He's being deployed to help with European deterrence around Ukraine. Hess says he will mostly be helping with taking care of service members and potentially refugees as well. The Honor Guard gathered at Wilmington Health yesterday to send him off as he leaves behind his wife and 2 children, as well as his patients for 4 months. On the roads, drivers in Leland can expect delays the next 2 days as crews work on repairing the bridge on Old Fayetteville Road across Sturgeon Creek. It will close today and tomorrow at 9 a.m. and reopen by 4. Drivers will be detoured onto US 7476 and Landvale Road. And a few sea turtles are on their own after hundreds of people crowded behind barricades at Oak Island yesterday to watch them walk into the ocean. 4 turtles treated at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center have now been sent back out into the sea. Experts say if you happen to see a turtle with a hook in its mouth, don't pull it out, leave it to professionals to remove. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with the Storm Track 3 forecast. Going to be another repeat of what we saw on Monday with below average temperatures reaching the low 70s away from the coast. Upper 60s will do it for high temperatures along the immediate coastline. Certainly going to be breezy as well with north winds anywhere between 10 to 25 miles per hour. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out and about. As for tonight, mostly cloudy skies in store for us, and our temperatures fall down into the low to middle 50s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse? Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon. Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Fuck you mean no internet? No, it took long enough. Aye. Broken internet. That wasn't fun. Sorry, we had there's a couple of things happening here. Oh, wait. Let's do this. Yeah, when things break, it runs a little slower. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Thankfully, it didn't affect this side of things, but yeah, it seems to have broken some of the house. So we do what we can with what we got. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, part of the Big Talker Network, right here in southeastern North Carolina with some fantastic programs, content coming from Heard Tell, All Things Brunswick, Consumer Choice Radio, Voice in the Pen, Today's Homeowner, When Radio Was, more and more coming. And if you're interested in producing a show, we can certainly help you out. Believe that. We have the ability to come to your location. You can do it here. You can do it there. You can do it by remote. You can do it yourself. You know, there's any number of options, but lots of great ideas for smart talk radio. And why I'm here, I just happen to be the central nexus for all of this. So enjoy it while you can. It ain't got much. Ain't got much else. At least not yet. Still working on the coffee. Michael Siegel from Ordinary Times wrote a little article called Mo Bitter Blues. I am Mike's total lack of surprise. Former President Donald Trump formally rescinded his endorsement of Representative Mo Brooks in Alabama's Senate race, calling the congressman woke for saying that Republicans should move on and look past the 2020 election. Wow. I don't think these people understand insults. Trump backed Brooks, one of his close congressional allies, in his failed effort to overturn his 2020 election loss early in the race to replace retiring GOP Senator Richard Shelby. But despite Brooks' former loyalty, Trump has increasingly soured on the Alabama congressman over his poor fundraising and poll numbers, openly airing some of his frustrations in a recent interview with the Washington Examiner. Now, Mike writes, the woke thing that Trump accuses Brooks of is at least partially as an excuse. Brooks made those comments in August, and while Trump very little heresy on the subject of the 2020 election, he didn't revoke his endorsement then. No, he waited until Brooks' polling reached The nadir of a long, slow crash. It began the second he entered the race a year ago. What changed since August was that Brooks' numbers did a pretty good impression of the Russian economy as Michael Durant, a war veteran of Somalia, surged to the head of the pack. In general, Trump's endorsements seem to be carrying a lot less weight this election cycle, which is one of the few signs I've seen that there may be hope for the Republican Party. Brooks, facing the end of his senatorial ambition, has apparently decided that if he's going down, he's taking Trump with him. In recent interviews, he has claimed, I'm being attacked by, anyway. He has claimed that Trump asked him to join a strategy to remove President Biden from the White House and install Trump. A move Brooks said correctly would be blatantly unconstitutional as well as bat crap crazy to boot. He's now doing interviews touting his loyalty to the Constitution, a loyalty that did not show up on January 6th when he was the first congressman to challenge the election results and spoke at the pre-riot rally. And as Ala Pundit wisely notes, a loyalty that did not preclude him from keeping this little tidbit a secret until he had nothing left to lose. But now Mo Brooks wants credit, I guess, for doing the bare minimum necessary to not be a traitorous weasel. It's like when your boyfriend tells you some girl hit on him in the singles bar, but he totally didn't give her his number because he loves you just that much. While it's fun to watch Mo Brooks' fear sweat emerging as his campaign implodes, it's about the 9,000th reminder that loyalty to Trump is one way, is expected to be absolute and can be rescinded at any time. We have seen this over and over and over and over and over again. You can be the most zealous and committed supporter of the entire MAGA sphere, but if you deviate from complete support, fail to embrace the stolen election narrative, or just start looking like you're going to lose an election, Trump will happily turn on you, stab you in the back, and throw you to the wolves that live under the nearest bus. It is his nature. It is who he is. He has never been loyal to anyone or anything other than himself, and it's baffling to watch Republican after Republican get blindsided by this reality, thinking that they will be the exception to the absolute rule. And I think it's kind of scary that any one person has any kind of far-reaching influence of this nature. It's an insult to who we are as free Americans, I would think, right? I will no more let somebody tell me who to vote for than I will let someone tell me which soda to drink. You may make your suggestions, but that is as far as it goes. You do not determine what I do. And if you're looking to someone's endorsement to decide which candidate to choose, you are obviously not an informed voter. An endorsement should not even, it should be as a non-thing as social influencer. Okay? Just putting that out there. There's no way on this earth that you should be considered, an endorsement as any sort of, certainly from a celebrity or an idiot or a hateful misogynist. And that's just Cawthorn. There are a lot of other options. 10.5 million in this state alone, ladies and gentlemen. Can we do better? Are there any others better? Are there people whose political ambitions extend beyond their own profiting? I guess not. Because we keep getting the same group of people with additions of people that have been, like in Charlotte, who were arrested and served prison time for embezzling and bribes while they were in office, running for those same offices. Really? I mean, I think it would be, we set up something a while back, like back in the late 1700s, that if you're a convicted felon, might have been the 1800s, if you're a convicted felon, you lose the right to vote. I'm thinking if you've lost the right to vote, you've lost the right to run for office, period. Right? And if you are a habitual criminal, even at the misdemeanor level, like the guy who keeps driving without a license because they took his license away, and he, forgot? And he also forgot that he had a handgun in his bag getting on the airplane. All of these should be tried together and be shown that this guy is a habitual offender. He doesn't give a damn about the rules because he is special. He's so special that the man who saved his life threw him under the bus and left him for dead. This guy should be in prison and have his voting privileges revoked. And as such, since he is no longer allowed to vote, he's not allowed to run for office. Because if you can't vote for yourself, you can't run for office. That should be the rule. And I don't think that any of these... what's the word? These were ideas or court things that were floated around to let convicted felons get their voting rights back. I'm not sure I agree with that. Now, true, they've served their time and they're trying to get back into society, but that's a consequence. You're convicted of a felony, you lose your right to vote. Boom. You lose your right to deal with armed, firearms. Boom. Done. Even if you become a billionaire and reform your life and become the greatest philanthropist and the best human being ever possible on the face of the earth, you're still not allowed to own a gun. And furthermore, I don't think you should be allowed to vote. Because you've already shown that your concern for your fellow citizen is less than what you propose. And these are mentalities that begin earlier in life, like the behaviors that Madison Cawthorn was exhibiting earlier in his life, like in college, are exactly who he's going to be as an adult. And that's true for every one of these politicians. The sad thing is, every one of them, just like you and me, were taught right from wrong at the age of 3, 4, 5 years old. We know to throw our trash into the trash can. We know not to litter planet Earth. However, sometime between the age of 5 and ascension into the political ranks, we seem to have abandoned these concepts, abandoned these values, and now we have these ridiculous, better than you, do as I say, not as I do, crops of politicians from the local to the federal level. $10.5 million in North Carolina, $300 million in the United States. I think we can do better. And this is true on both sides of the aisle. A lot of these should be aged out on both sides of the aisle. Very few of the people that are in those halls have a clue what it's like to live in the real world. And what's interesting is what they require for them to do their jobs is far away and beyond anything most of us just try to get into a year. Right? I mean, these people are being paid stupid amounts of money, but they pay for nothing. They don't pay for transportation. We do, right? We buy their airline and pay for their fuel. We pay for their food. And, of course, since they're not at home and they're in Washington, they have to stay somewhere. So we pay for that as well. It's not like they're paying for it. What the hell are they paying for? They're not paying for food or transportation or lodging. But somehow, for some reason, we continue to pay them while they make more money than we will ever see while in office. So what's the deal? I think there's some dishonesty in our representation. It sure seems like it. How else are these people, having been in office and not having much of an education beyond having a law degree, which, can generate money, but certainly not at the same rate, certainly not on pace with what they make while in office? I think Senator Burr was only the latest scapegoat in that fiasco, in that criminal enterprise, in that same scheming sense. Because think about it. If one guy, right, Senator Burr, that's 1 out of 100, you don't think there's at least 10 more that were doing the same thing and were able to stay just on the side of squeaky, that they can avoid prosecution, but they can't avoid the, they got to retire. They got to get out. Because if he tries to run again, you can imagine they would just roast this guy, just splay him open like a pig picking, and just tear him apart. And I bet he doesn't want to put his family to it. He doesn't want to go through it. And he's thinking, yeah, I did my insider. I made my money. I can retire and live better than most people in North Carolina and not have to do a damn thing for the rest of my life. How's that? And it's not like you're going to cry for any politician who doesn't get elected. I mean, these people, the lady Abrams, I think it was, down in Georgia? Alabama, one of those. While it is that she failed at her gubernatorial bid, she was able to parlay that into more than $3.1 million inside of a year. So, yeah, super rich politicians do not represent us. We haven't had normal people. I mean, and again, we're going to have normal people as quite the subjective continuum. Right, initially when I heard that AOC had won her bid, I was thinking, wow, an actual worker from the world that I know, right? Entertainment, nightclubs, alcohol. But no, it's not normal. There's a lot of not normal going on in our... But then again, the normality has changed. What we consider normal, what we consider acceptable, has skewed widely from the previous 2 generations. In a lot of ways, this is the exact result of these freedoms that we are granted. But on the other end of it, I don't think that we have the respect for what this freedom requires of us as a responsibility. As stated in the other article, from Ordinary Times, none of your business. So don't make it my business. How's that? Is that fair enough? If you don't cram your crap in my face, then we won't have a problem. But if you're trying to call me out by the shock factor that you brought to this, right? If you're trying to evoke an emotion and you get one, that's your win. You have to live with that consequence. That's you. Nobody else did this to you. Nobody else told you to get up in the face of other people who don't really care and are just trying to live their own lives free of your stupid. Right? I don't demand that you listen to my radio program. You are free to tune in or out as you choose. That's up to you. I'm not really concerned. I'm just doing what I can with what I got, and what I got is what's left over. Oh, look at that. So I'm just building up from, what I started with. And that's all there is to that. It's not like I had any real, direction. This is all personal impetus. Man, I really miss my morning friend. I wanted to grill him about this LSAT test, which, if anybody, I guess you would have to be over the age of 40 to remember the ASVAB that was handed out at high school, like candy. And it was supposed to be the aptitude test for military. And it was, well, clandestinely. I think the ASVAB was, generated by the military, sent out to a bunch of kids, and then if you were interested in the military, they could look at your ASVAB and kind of go, yeah, you'd be great fodder for a cannon. Right? But that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We don't have those same programs anymore that I know of. We don't even teach civics in school anymore. So how would they come to know this? And of course, we are so out of touch with what's going on. Our own constituents, our own representatives seem to think that the legislature in which they sit governs trademarks and copyrights. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to rethink who we send to office, who we want representing us. I mean, recently, now, recently, there's been a lot of coverage about a lot of things across the entire planet, right? And as such, we have seen world leaders traipsed out in front of cameras across the world. Can I just say that we have some of the ugliest, most unhealthy looking representatives on the world stage? Right? Going from Trump to Biden is not looking any healthier. I mean, look at the Finland and Sweden. Look at their leaders, right? Look at the British leader. I mean, Boris Johnson's got the hair to die for. And then you got what we sent over there. And this has been true for a while. I mean, I was never a fan of Ivanka. But, rolling all up into the G20 and a Gucci whatever, man, I mean, crass. No other country that I have seen on the world stage in the last 6 weeks, or, well, I guess we're on, 7? We're in our 3rd month? Yeah, 7 weeks. None of them appear or come across as crass and ridiculous as our own. So, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest again, or I will iterate again, I will pontificate again, that out of the 330 million people in this country, we can do better than what we have. Right? There's over 540, 540 between the Senate and the House? 535, something like that. Out of 300 million. We can do better. I mean, Finland, Austria, Germany, all these countries have much smaller populations than our own, and they don't seem to have the problems that we do with their representation. They still have fights and gaggles and porn in the highest offices. I mean, that's to be expected, right? We are decrepit creatures. That's all there is to it. But I think we could do a little bit better with representing who we are, because, we are not all old and frail. We're not all fat and nasty, right? We're not all woke, and we're not all extremists. We're not all red. We're not all blue. And maybe we should reflect that in our representation by finding people that are more, I don't know, alive would be a good start. I'm not, So, imagine this, like, if let's go back to, like, your church social day, right, where everybody in the church goes out to a park and has ice cream and hot dogs and whatever else. And then, but it's political, so everybody in Congress and in the House, in the House and the Senate, all head out and have this wonderful picnic. Could you see these guys having sack races? Right? Could you see Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden in a sack race with AOC and Madison Cawthorn? I mean, this would just be, well, I guess you can't use sack. That would just cause too many problems. But you can imagine that there isn't really the social ability that we would expect from our leaders, right? We do know that they have the grifting going on and the little behind the scenes that we need a Chimera, we need a Bellerophon, we need our enemies, we need our champions, etc. But really, I would much rather the ability for these people to have conversations to say, you know what, even though I'm Republican, I agree with the need for a more comprehensive medical solution. Or, yes, I'm a liberal, but I understand that there is a need for judiciary conservatism, or maybe even I don't know. I mean, there's any number of ways that this line should be blurred more than it is. Because if it's an actual, like, aisle divide that only people on this side and only people on that side can vote this way, something's wrong. I think it was Kennedy who said, let us not seek the Democrat solution or the Republican solution, but let us seek the American solution. That would be in true keeping with our Constitution and the spirit of our law. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen, is it? No, sir. All right, so what else do we have? We have 10.5 million people in North Carolina from which to choose. Preferably not a reality star, preferably not somebody who's financially indebted to somebody else, preferably not based on endorsements, preferably not based on, oh, I recognize that name. But let it be based on leadership. Let it be based on experience. Let it be based on proven track record. Or not. But I will say, an advertisement is only to bring awareness of the person into your mind. It is not really meant to educate, much more so than the highlight that they can give you in the 30 to 60 seconds that they have. Which is why it's so important to have programs like All Things Brunswick, who spent a vast chunk of their paid airtime to bring candidates from all parties onto the show and say, all right, you're running for office. Who are you and what are you about? What's up? That's informing. Right? The GOP in Brunswick County mailing out, tens of thousands of slate cards. GRNC, part of Paul Vallone's situation, right? The grassroots North Carolina sending out 150,000 slate cards on candidates throughout the state. And on up the chain. I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen. Get involved, get informed, and make sure that you know who's involved with what and why. But anyway. All right, so it's a packed day for me. I'm going to be down in Bolivia later today doing the All Things Brunswick. It's going to be a special show. The chairpersons, I can say it in this case, the chairman of the 3 GOPs, New Hanover, Brunswick, and Pender County, will be in Bolivia to get grilled by Mary Stillwell and company. Right there. It'll be on at 6 o'clock tonight. Catch it on the stream. Available on Facebook, YouTube, and I think the Twitters will carry it as well as live on the Big Talker Network right here. And if you did miss it or come in late, you can kind of DVR that thing and watch it right there on YouTubes and Facebooks and all that good stuff. And we will see you at 6 o'clock. And for now, we're going to end the broadcast day of the Asylum just a little bit early. And we will see you in the morning right here on the Asylum. Your morning will start with Voice in the Pen. Local singer-songwriter, musician performances from right here in Wilmington, North Carolina, followed by Heard Tell. Andrew Donaldson, the managing editor of Ordinary Times, of course, me. And then we go on to the good programs like Consumer Choice Radio, Guns, Politics, Freedoms, When Radio Was, and on from there. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. It gets better, I promise. See you then.
Keeping Charlotte informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The trial of a former New Hanover County school teacher who faces more than a dozen charges related to child sex crimes has begun. The trial was moved to Bladen County due to a conflict of interest in the DA's office. Jury selection began yesterday. Many Bladen County residents hadn't heard about the case, which came into the public eye back in 2019. Former Roland Grice Middle School band teacher Peter Frank is accused of more than a dozen sex crimes, including indecent liberties with a child, indecent liberties with a student, sexual activity with a child and a student, and sexual offense with a child aged 13, 14, or 15. The charges pertain to incidents with a female student between 1998 and 2000. That trial is expected to last more than a week. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is nearing its 11th week, and there is no clear indication that it will end soon. Now, one Wilmington man is heading overseas to help. Dr. Christopher Hess is a physician with Wilmington Health, but he's also a major in the Army National Guard. He's being deployed to help with European deterrence around Ukraine. Hess says he will mostly be helping with taking care of service members and potentially refugees as well. The Honor Guard gathered at Wilmington Health yesterday to send him off as he leaves behind his wife and 2 children, as well as his patients for 4 months. On the roads, drivers in Leland can expect delays the next 2 days as crews work on repairing the bridge on Old Fayetteville Road across Sturgeon Creek. It will close today and tomorrow at 9 a.m. and reopen by 4. Drivers will be detoured onto US 7476 and Landvale Road. And a few sea turtles are on their own after hundreds of people crowded behind barricades at Oak Island yesterday to watch them walk into the ocean. 4 turtles treated at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center have now been sent back out into the sea. Experts say if you happen to see a turtle with a